Welcome back, Tribe. I have an episode here from The Secret to Making Women Chase You. It's Dan Bilzerian talking about, what it takes. And he would know.
What are the common assumptions, the biggest ones that are holding guys back when it comes to attracting women? What are the reframes or the best strategies that you've deconstructed from yourself?
Okay, so the most common problems I would say would be some mindsets, like limiting beliefs is a big one. Like thinking like,
I can already tell you that a lot of men just heard that and go, "This is not true. You don't know what it's like to be 5'6". You don't know what it's like to be me because insert whatever. I am balding. I got acne. I got depression. I got skinny arms. I got blah blah blah. That's self-limiting belief right there, literally. You think your outcome is attached to being 5'6", or that the pizza face you have is absolutely stopping you from changing anything whatsoever. Nobody's saying like those aren't, marks against you, but you think there's a hard wall where you can no longer progress past pizza face. That's not true.
like, oh, I'm not tall, so women aren't going to be attracted to me, or I'm not rich, so I can't get women, or, like all these reasons why they're not attracted
Do
to
those
women.
things not matter?
No, they don't matter at all. Like at all. Like the things that actually can make a woman pursue you or chase you or be interested in you. Bill's a perfect example. He had all the things, not one, not two, not three. He had every single thing that guys think that they need to get women. And
Plus a desert island.
Desert island with 36 girls. Like you couldn't get a better scenario. So like that is literal proof that like all these things,
Still didn't get laid.
Exactly. That's not going to solve your problem, because here's a guy that had all those things and he still didn't do it. Right. And I have another sample of a bunch of guys in my fraternity that were short, that didn't have money, that weren't that smart, all this stuff, and they got a ton of pussy. So like I just know that it's not the traditional things that guys think that they need. That's a part of it. But I think
I think those things that are more highlighted in online dating. So if you're meeting chicks online, strictly Tinder, Bumble, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the height factor, pizza face, all the shit I listed is like hyper focused when it comes to mate selection. But in the real world, that shit actually doesn't matter. In the real world, I'll be honest with you. I've told the story before. Went to clubs with dudes that look like absolute terrorists, cave trolls, straight out of a fucking mountain hole, looking like he's going to jihad your ass right then and there. The funniest looking dudes, straight inbred looking motherfuckers. Went out with them in college to, bars, to nightclubs, whatever, and they're pulling girls left and right because they had crazy personalities, crazy charisma, and they were drawing the room in, and women were constantly laughing. And that level of confidence, charisma, and just like social acuity makes them irresistible to women. It's something about like commanding the room that makes you, or at least as a woman, makes her like overlook some of those other things, because at the same time, all the other women are fixated on this guy too. So then what happens is, in a weird way, you're triggering a woman's competitive nature against other women. Because imagine you're a dude with that kind of charisma and pull, although you don't have the stats of like a tall Thor, you're the exact opposite. You're looking like jihadi John straight out of a fucking cave. But 6 women are looking at you. All the other women of those 6 are all looking at each other, that they're all looking at this guy, and some weird shit starts happening underneath the surface where she's like, I'm better than her, and I'm better than her, and I'm going to get him. No. He needs to pay attention to me more. Why is he talking to Gina more? Why did he just touch Tina? I'm here. Show me attention. That's how women compete. It's a weird way to manipulate the instincts of female competition to get them to look at you in a better light. Men have lost this ability through modern dating of, online age style dating apps, forums, Reddit, DMs, Instagram bullshit. That's all horrible ways to do it. If you're going to do it that way, then yeah, you have to absolutely max out your jawline, your fucking chin, dude, your hair. You're going to have perfect skin. You're going to have to compete with all the like pretty boys online. But the old way of actually, cold approach or day game or nightclub game, all that stuff was far better, way better for average dudes that just worked on that kind of social acuity, charisma, pulling attention, commanding a room, all that stuff. Because you're able to play into that natural competitive that women have against one another. And that works for you guys way better than any fucking thing you could possibly do. You can pull a woman as long as there are multiple women in a room whose attention you have. I guarantee it. I think that's what he noticed, because Dan Bilzerian at his like height, I guess, he was always hanging out with like 20, 30 chicks. And he naturally, just through the lifestyle that he was living, saw that. So it was like the less attention he gave a woman, or even if he gave another woman a little bit of attention, I bet you in the group of girls that caused instant competition, and one that would feel neglected would overtly try to get his attention, probably through sex, just straight up giving it to him, just like grabbing his hand, no conversation, you need to take it to the bathroom, sloppy toppy, you're done. You know, it's like, now you'll remember me. You better fucking remember me now. I'm the girl that gave you sloppy toppy in the bathroom. But for a guy, that's like, yeah, whatever, dude. That chick was like, she was crazy. She just domed me up in the bathroom. And then he's still interested in Sarah, talking to Sarah, while Tina just sloppy toppied him. But this is the innate competition that women have with men present. Go talk up to, chat up a group of girls. You'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah, I guarantee it, dude.
Like I said, when I kind of like deconstructed it, the biggest epiphany that I had was
it's harder to game a woman by herself than it is to game her in front of her friends. I bet $1 million on that. Much easier. I loved women in groups. When we went out, groups were the best. I don't like talking to women solo. I loved it when they were in groups, that I could talk to everybody in the group, and immediately I knew it was game over, dude. Game over, especially when you got not only the friends vying for you, but then you start to show interest in the girl you're really interested in, and they do like an approval thing, like, okay, this guy's good, and all the girlfriends approve. They'll practically tell her to sleep with him. He's a good one. I would if I could, because maybe she had like a ring on or something, or whatever her excuse was, or another guy was talking to her, one of my friends in our group, you know, because you have a couple guys also with you, and you talk to a group of girls, so nobody's left out. So you kind of contain that catty competitive nature by giving everyone an option. Yeah.
Difference of when you are chasing a woman or you're pursuing a woman versus when she's pursuing you, and like the flaws disappearing on both sides. When a woman's chasing you, your flaws disappear, her flaws magnify. Just like when the really, stage 5 clinger girl hits you up all the time, it's just like, you're not interested in her. Maybe she can suck your dick on a Friday night if you strike out at 3 a.m. Right. But like, the same thing's true for women, is like when these guys massively over communicate interest, they know they can have them. And then it's like a conversation of, do they want them? And when you're looking at flaws, you're going to find them. Like, you've got flaws, I've got flaws, like everybody has flaws, right? So when you're looking for flaws, they stand out. But when you're pursuing something, like think an auction, like 5 guys want something, 5 guys are bidding for something, and like you really want it. And you have this like, idea in your mind of like when you wanted something, you didn't get it, and this fear of loss. You're not thinking about what's wrong with it. You're just, how do I get it? Mm-hmm. Right? Just like, and this is probably the most common mistake guys make, is they're like, this girl's hot. How do I fuck her? That's the thought process. Like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. Like, I would marry that girl. How many times have you heard a guy say like, oh my God, she's so hot, I would marry her? It's like, what if she has AIDS? What if she's a pathological liar? What if she's like 95,000 guys? What if she's just like a serial cheater? Like, what if this girl has massive problems? What if she's bipolar? What if she's got a massive alcohol problem? Whatever, right? Like, dig a little bit deeper, like be discerning, like go into the interaction, like wanting to find out more about the girl, not just accepting her looks as being enough. And I think that's the biggest problem that guys make, is that they just like, the looks are enough. And then the conversation is like, how do I get her to like me? So you're already going in there with a handicap. Like when a salesman comes in, like he's already coming in from a handicap, versus like when somebody goes into the store because they need milk, they just go to the aisle, they find the milk and they buy it. Versus if you show up at the door and you try and sell them milk, then be like, oh, well, who is this guy? Is the milk old? Can I trust this? You know what I mean? Like the difference, like when you want something, it's just like, how do I get it? It's not, the same conversation. And so that would be the biggest thing. And I figured that out because I had a big sample size of girls that wanted to f me that I screwed it up with, and a big sample size of girls that wanted to f me that I also had sex with. And I think that's like, look, in a experiment, you have to have the control group. Right? Most guys do not have the control group. Like I literally had girls sending me butt naked photos on Instagram. I want to f you. And I screwed it up with those girls. So I'm just saying, like, only in like cross comparing what worked and what didn't work with 2 sample sizes of girls that both wanted to sleep with me, could I figure it out. Given that you're
the same guy to both of them.
Exactly. Cause like, there's girls that just like wouldn't want to sleep with me because I'm Armenian or I have a shitty haircut or whatever, right? There's going to be girls that just like wouldn't fuck me, period. So because I had that sample that I knew that they wanted to sleep with me and I screwed it up, I was able to like figure out the things that I was doing wrong. And like one of the big things that I was doing wrong was like I was over communicating interest. I would have problems with the girls that I was like, oh, damn, like this girl's hot, she's different, or like, or I really like her or whatever. And my approach would change. And because my approach would change, my results would change.
What about, the sort of treat them mean to keep them keen / not signaling sufficient interest that that girl doesn't actually end up responding to you at all? I think, well, he's not interested, so this doesn't go anywhere.
So I wouldn't say treat them mean. I would say change your default setting from nice to challenging, because like a lot of these guys, like they aren't really nice guys. Like, oh, like, I just want to be it's like, you're not that nice to the fat chick. You're not that nice to the janitor. You're nice to this girl because you want to, so like this whole idea of like, oh, I'm just being myself, or like, that's another one. It's like, I just want to be myself. Like I want her to like me for me. And it's like, okay, well, there's different versions of you. There's a version of you in an Armani suit. There's a version of you dressed like shit. There's a version of you where you like take care of your diet and work out and like, work at your job. And there's a version of you that just like succumbs to every one of your, impulses. Like, like I drive by McDonald's and like, I just want to eat fries, but I don't, like I want to have Snickers all day, but I don't, like you can make yourself better. And I think, a lot of guys don't do that. Like a lot of guys are just like, I want a girl to like me for me.
So get tactical for a moment with regards to guy has girl that he thinks she's hot, she's interesting, I want to pursue her. What is a better tactical way of moving toward that? What should they do?
Well, I mean, I would not start the interaction by over communicating interest, number one. So I would go up and, have a conversation with her. I mean, I've asked girls crazy stuff. I take like a pretty extreme approach, and I wouldn't recommend this for, all guys, but like I'll ask girls crazy questions. Like me and my buddy were having a conversation the other day, and like he was like, I think I was arguing that I think you have a lower chance of getting a serious rejection if you put a girl's hand on your dick than if you go for a kiss. And this is after a girl's into you and like you guys have been on a date or whatever, and there's like, some chemistry, whatever. And he was like, you're out of your mind, like this, that, and the other. And I was like, okay, well, let's ask some girls. So like, I just would go up to a girl and I'd be like, hey, like this is the question. Like, I wouldn't frame like who is on which side, but like they wanted an answer. So they gave their answer. And now all of a sudden we're in a sexual conversation with a girl where I haven't communicated any interest to her at all. And I've almost like disqualified her because I'm asking her this question that like you usually wouldn't ask.
Not about you.
Exactly. You wouldn't ask a girl that you're trying to like hook up with because it's like a crazy question too. Yep. And so I'm not saying that would be, the optimal approach, but I'm just saying like that's something that like most guys wouldn't think to do, but that it's more successful than going up, over communicating interest, putting a girl in a position where like she has to decide like accept or reject. And usually when they're like forced to accept or reject, usually reject is the default. And if it's not, then they're probably a whore. If they just like accept every guy that comes up to them.
This is your chasing versus choosing paradigm.
Well, yeah. So, get into the interaction. And, the caveat to that is like what you say to a girl isn't necessarily how important is like how you say it.
Yeah.
So you could go up and say some really stupid shit to open the conversation. It doesn't really matter. Like as long as you get in there without massively over communicating interest. Right. And then I would say be discerning, be challenging, like, ask questions, dig deeper, get a little bit of information about her, I mean, Neil Strauss had a good one when he was on with Jessica Alba, and he said, looks are common in LA. Aside from your looks, like what would your friends say are the 3, best qualities about you? And like in that one question, he immediately like pulled away her looks, which was like one of her strongest attributes. Like nobody give a fuck about Jessica Alba if she's ugly. Right. So it's literally like her superpower. He just sucked it right out of the conversation. He's also digging deeper. And now he's got her in a position of like qualifying herself to him and selling herself to him. She's telling him why she's good, And so that would be a much better start of an interaction.
I hope a lot of guys are listening to this because it's like master level game right here from dudes with a lot of experience. I could qualify that everything he's saying is fucking spot on true. The common way guys approach is, hey, I thought you were really beautiful and I'd just like to invite you over for dinner. And you sound like the next 10 fucking schmucks that'll approach her in the same way. You don't stand out. That's why we always say you got to be the guy that stands out. You don't stand out by super simping, by like coming up with a bouquet of flowers and a box of chocolates and telling her, "Milady, you're so pretty. You're so the most beautiful woman in the land." None of that shit fucking works. None of that Disney shit works that you've been taught that women are these little flowers and you should save them from themselves and all this. That's stupid, bro. You're going to be the same fucking schmuck as the next 10. Next 100. You are forgettable. Like the dude that hits on her at the gas station, the other guy at the grocery store, the dude waiting in the aisle for whatever other fucking thing, the guy in line waiting for the latte. You know, there's multiple approaches that she deals with every day, and they're all forgettable because they're all the same. Some variation of complimenting her fucking beauty, or a proxy compliment for her beauty, like your dress is amazing on your body. Wow, you must work out. Shut up, you fucking schmuck. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Just approach a woman the way the game he's dealing out is some of the stuff that I learned too, going at the club and stuff, is that question, those redirects. You know, like me and my friend were having a conversation and we wanted to know, can you three girls tell us what is the most attractive when a guy does this or that? What do you think? You know, or some, and you would open up the conversation like, I'm not trying to hit on you. We have an argument and I bet him $20 and I'm trying to win this. Can you help me out? Okay, here's what I think women respond. And then the women will start like, no, yeah, you're right. And now we have a full blown conversation that we can jump off onto something else, which is actually we're hitting on you, but we didn't make it obvious. It just started off as like a weird, these guys were having an argument. They were betting on something and we're helping them. And, oh, yeah, by the way, wow, these guys are actually really cool because all these creeps around the club were just hitting on us. You know, like, we're so tired of fucking shooting down guys. And you guys were like, just came up to us with this, like, you were having a conversation of arguing about this fucking scenario. And it's like, wow, it's like really cool talking to you guys. We didn't approach with their bitch shield and activated. We approached in a completely different angle from a different door that we opened. We're like, we're not actually here because we're interested in you sexually or anything like that. We got a disagreement and we need your help to solve it. And they're like, oh, that's different. Okay, what's the problem? That's it, dude. This like advanced level shit, but it fucking works like a charm.
Then like, you know, I think you're so beautiful. Like I just had to come over here and, you know, and
yeah.
By the way, I'm a...
I haven't seen this, by the way. I didn't know he's going to really say that right after me. I don't watch. These are blind commentaries. I don't watch any of these. My head would explode if I had to watch this back twice.
Doctor, you know, and I drive a Lamborghini and like all this bullshit. The guys like, you know, they try and brag about themselves. They're doing all these things. And the girl's just like in a position of like, okay, you know, like, do I want this? That's the conversation usually between guys and girls is like, the girl's like, okay, do I want this guy? It's like playing poker and the guys just like turn over their cards. And so I would say like, you know, dig a little bit deeper, be discerning, like find out about the girl, like, you know, decide. And then if you want to give her a compliment on like something that's unique about her, something that's like she earned, or, you know, not just like she was born with, you know, like if she has pretty eyes, I'm sure she's heard that from a million guys. Like, don't tell her she has pretty eyes, you know, like just be different. I mean, I guess like a big epiphany I had too was like when I became famous, you know, and I just talk about this in there too, is like understanding a hot girl's mind. Because when I became famous, like I understood what it was like to be a hot chick. And I understood that in the sense of like, I had forced interactions wherever the fuck I would go, whether it was a Starbucks, whether it was, you know, wherever, like I had people coming up to me, and the same thing is true of a girl. Like when she goes to get her mail, when she goes to the grocery store, like guys are hitting on her all the time. So it's forced interactions. And what I notice is the first 100 times guys would come up to me and be like, bro, you're the man, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, all this shit. I was like, okay, cool. You know, whatever. And I always take the pictures, you know, but I guess what I'm trying to, you know, explain with that is, let's say you are a famous guy and a guy comes up to you and like, bro, you're the man, dude, like all this shit. And you've heard this 10,000 times. Is that going to make you want to have a beer with that guy? No. Like maybe you'll take a photo with him. You'll tell him you appreciate it, but it's not going to make you want to like hang out with him. Now, if that guy comes up to you and is like, hey man, you know, I only got a second, but I just want to tell you like, you know, I really like this, you know, maybe the guy's a rock star. I really like this song that you did. And he told him a song that he did like in the garage. He's like, and I had the same guitar that you had and whatever. And then he's just like kind of excusing himself on the way out. Maybe that rock star like wants to have a conversation with him. Oh shit, that guitar, you know, that was like one of my favorite guitars, you know, like now you're coming at it from a different angle. And I would say the same thing is true with hot girls. Is like, if you go up and say the same shit that all these other guys have said to these girls, you're going to have the same knee-jerk reaction. The walls are going to go up. Mm-hmm. She's going to remember the last 20 times she got caught in a 30-minute conversation with some idiot talking her ear off, and she knows that the guy just wants to fuck her because she's built no value, right? Like early on in the conversation, if you compliment her a bunch before she's earned it, and it's kind of like you're telling her indirectly, you're hot,
above me.
You're above me, and your looks are good enough. I don't even care if you have flaws. Like you're hot, and so that's enough for me, and I'm ready to date you. This is the wrong thing.
It's so funny, that kind of playground mentality of, if I know that I can have it, I don't want it. And it's so funny how that seems to be in your worldview, like a fundamental part of the physics of
Well, it
this
translates to everything. It's sales, it's negotiation, it's business, it's all these things.
The person that can walk away from the deal is the one that holds the most power.
Always.
So apparently the comment section, they're butthurt because of the choice of the guest. Says the comment section seems repulsed, but I see where Dan is coming from. To be honest, being chased for being a chaser, you certainly behave and act differently. Yeah, being chosen by a woman. It's essentially what it is, versus qualifying your worth as a man and starting from the bottom. Everyone here in the comments is criticizing the choice of the guest without commenting on his points at all. He's right, And this one's knocking on this thread that a lot of people, I guess, are fixated on, which doesn't matter for the context of this conversation. I really enjoyed many of your videos, but I can't listen to this guy. He said he made over $1 million playing poker, but that was impossible. Who gives a shit? His father was a great big savings and loan fraudster from the 80s who escaped justice. He claimed to own his rental and claims a business success. I don't care if he's a scammer, if he has done whatever he's done with this failed. He even had that, Fire Festival and all that shit. If you remember, I think he was under that. And he also had a weed business and all this shit. I don't know. Don't give a fuck. The guy lived with and documented his life on Instagram with God knows how many women in private jets, living an elevated life most men dream of. He has the experience to talk about male-female dynamics. End of story. I don't give a fuck. The other part could be, we could discuss that on his character value and principles, but that's not what this discussion is about. Yeah, look, this one says, these are the butt hurts. Let me save you some irreplaceable time in your life. Dan's daddy is wealthy. What does that have to do with him fucking and talking to girls? He's been giving every advantage in life. Again, what does that have to do with him actually interacting himself with the women? You're not Dan. Focus on your goals and don't waste your time listening to someone whose advice will not relate to 99% of people. His advice literally relates to absolutely every single man who will ever walk up to a woman and wants to get her attention. Because this guy has had a unique life to see what women are really thinking about and what they respond to through exposure, insane levels of exposure. Dan is spot on. You only learn then the older you get as a man and the experience and girls that you have dated through. You cannot learn this stuff by the book. Knowledge is important, but implementation is key. Being around many young women, old and all, you start to see the patterns. Exactly. That's literally the gem of this entire argument. If we're talking through pure experience and not these bozos that are still caught up in his other less scrupulous parts of his life, just experiments. There's the experience side of this dude's life that he was living with women, the Playboy lifestyle, makes him one of the best figures to talk about exactly this. Who do you think has more experience? The only guys that really could talk about this with real deep understanding and knowledge is the guys that have ran through hundreds, potentially thousands of women. Why do you think it resonates so much when Tate talks about this stuff, when Dan Bilzerian talks about this stuff, when Strauss talks about this stuff, when other guys that were either playboys or pickup artists or dudes with experience themselves from their lifestyle, whether they were gifted physically or learned, applied principles and had success with it. That's why. That's why also I pulled back a lot from red pill manosphere stuff, because it's filled today more than ever with a bunch of goofies, dude, that never really went through this stuff. They're kind of regurgitating shit without having actual in-field knowledge. They never had the women. They never experienced the nightlife. They never went out and had 4 or 5 girlfriends at one point, rotating, plate spinning, whatever it is that they call that shit. Plate spinning. I think it would say, spinning plates. And one plate breaks, you pick up another one, your rotation of women, all that stuff. I've been pretty open about what my life was like post, a breakup where I went through the whole red pill thing and partying almost every single night. My life was basically at one point, because this is what it takes, at one point in college, is just dedicated to getting laid and getting women. Literally every single night we went out besides, oh God, I don't even know. I think almost every single night, maybe besides Sunday. Taco Tuesdays, Thursdays, Mondays. I don't know what the fuck was going on with Mondays. Wednesdays, we were there to kickbacks. Friday and Saturday after the club. Women, slept with one woman every day of the week. And I was proud of myself back then. I was an ordinary dude in college. And I managed to I called it the perfect week. It was the highlight of my life then. And I managed to bag a different woman every day of the week that I wasn't already warming up through conversation, text, or anything, or had slept with her before. It was a fresh 7 women. And I was a broke college student bartending, It was insane, dude. I went to the clubs every night and, ambitions in life was, women make me feel like a man. But you don't learn this shit, dude. Nobody tells you about I talk about the pitfalls of living this kind of lifestyle that, looking back, I'm glad I learned what I learned, but it was an insane amount of excess that didn't require all the bodies that I've accumulated to learn what I learned. The first 20 girls showed me all I needed to know really about women. And the next 50 to 100 to whatever plus 100 number, so you stop counting. I don't even know how many, there's hundreds, but you stop counting, and those women don't teach you much besides like little nuances here that are very like specific to an individual or something. Yeah. But try to tell a guy to not make women the center of his life when he has none, or that they shouldn't matter and that he should he should focus on himself and self-improve and make his life great first, and that women will come after. It's hard when you're in the desert, bro, and you're thirsty as fuck. You're dying of it. And the guy comes around on his fucking camel, stocked up on water, telling you, bro, you're almost at the city. Don't trip, homie. Just a few more steps. Don't worry about water. All this water I got, don't worry. I'm not thirsty, but don't worry about it. I'll meet you in the city. There's a town over that fucking ridge of giant sand. Just keep going. I understand the hypocrisy in telling you guys this shit when I've had the success, or, he's had the success that he's had to an extreme degree. And we're saying, don't make women your focus. Do things for yourself first. Self-improve in these areas. These, your mental shortcomings matter far more than the physical. The limitations you place on yourself, women sense that shit. We've only learned through experience. We're just trying to help you shortcut the bullshit. But yeah, when you use that kind of analogy, I understand. I understand. When I was your guys' age, or if I was really dry on, women and getting laid, yeah, probably since I started getting laid, I didn't go more than like a week or two without getting laid by some chick, but imagine telling a guy that's like 26 years old, virgin, or 36 years old, been with like 2 women. And, it's like, my relationship fell apart, or it's so hard to get a woman that'll deal with red flags and all this shit. And they end up in these like miserable relationships. And dude, trust me, I've heard it all. I understand. I'm just trying to give you guys a shortcut to success, because I sure as fuck wish I had it. This is pretty new in terms of what a man's capable of, consuming in terms of content between men and women, female dynamics, sexual dynamics, game, and shit like that. Yeah. If I had all this info, I would have crushed it in a much more positive way. I would have gotten laid how I needed to, but also would have been searching for a good woman way earlier. Yeah. Anywho, appreciate you guys for tuning in. As usual, boys. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you on the next one.